Yo guys, what's up? Welcome to part 2 of the video where I make a full stack React Native and Firebase app. We're continuing making the to-do list from the last video, so if you haven't checked out part 1, I highly recommend you go ahead and check that out first so you're all caught up for this video right here. And for those of you that are new here, my name is Akash from Fire App Dev. Here I teach you how to make full stack apps quickly using React Native, Expo, and Firebase. So if that's something you're interested in and you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. But without further ado, let's get to part 2 of building this app. We're going to finish up the front end today and set us up to add the back end next week. So let's start with a quick recap of what we covered in last video. We set up our React navigation and created a bunch of screens, including this home screen right here and this to-do list screen right here. We haven't actually added anything to the to-do list screen. That's what we're going to be covering today. But in last video, we added different to-do lists. We added the ability to add a to-do list. We have not added the ability to change the title of the new to-do list yet. It just adds a generic one for now. And we can also delete the different to-do lists. And we can go into a to-do list now, and let's actually start building the to-do list. So start off with going to the to-do list.js page. We already created this last time, and I already have these styles right here imported. So go ahead and copy that if you didn't do so last time, and make sure you're importing style sheet, text, view, touchable opacity, and flat list. We're going to be using a bunch of these again. Now this to-do list page's structure is going to be very similar to the home page right here, because again, it's just going to be another list rendering a bunch of items. The items themselves are going to be a to-do list. So let's get started. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and start a flat list again. And then we're going to add the proper props we need to the flat list. So we're going to have another data prop. Remember, this is where you pass in whatever data you want rendered in the form of an array, and every item in the array becomes a part of the flat list. And then we'll do render item equals, and here you're going to get your item, and then the index, again, same as the home page. And then we can return a component right here. We'll just return a blank view for now. All right, perfect. Now we got to figure out how exactly we want to structure this to-do item. So what do we really care about with a to-do item? It's going to have some text on it to show what the actual to-do item is. And then we're going to have something to mark whether it's checked off or not. So let's do an item of structure. We'll do text. Text will be hello. It's just a sample item we're going to start off with, and we're going to have is checked. And set that to false. And let's right away start by you putting this list, this array over here in a state, so we don't have to go through that again. Const. You got to destructure the list for the use state, and we'll do to do items and set to do items. If you are confused on how use state works, go back and check out the first part of the series where I go through how use state works. But pretty much anything you want to actually re-render the component or the screen, you're going to want to put in the state. State, and let's just copy this in there. And here we'll tell it to render to do items. And let's get the similar set of functions from the last screen, because we're going to have a similar functionality. We can add item to the to-do list. Let me remove item from the list. Or we could also do right here, we were setting up another plus button. This use layout effect is another hook. Let me go ahead and import that. And this use layout effect is basically saying when this component is rendered for the first time, use the update the navigation option to update this header right here and add a plus button like this. And then let's also import this render add list icon button. Actually, yeah, let's keep it like this for now. In the future, what we're going to do is make this render add list item its own component. That way we don't have to define the same thing over here and here again. Again, that's what makes React and React Native super powerful. And the item here's the item structure has changed to text. We'll give it a random text for now. It's not, we'll say it's going to be hello 2. And let's do is checked is set to false. To begin with. And let's see. We already have the icon style right here, just padding 5, font size 32, color white. And the container is a flex one background color white, just simple designs. Oh yeah, we got to make sure when we copy paste things, we got to make sure to update the code. So change list to to-do items here. And instead of set lists, it's now set to-do items. So we'll do that. Go ahead and hit save. And for now, here, let's destructure this item to get the text and the is checked over here. Text is checked. And then instead of making this a view, we'll actually make this a text component that it's rendering, and we'll just pass in the text. Remember, if you just type in text, it's literally going to render the word text. You want to put them in the squiggly braces. And I'll hit save. So now when we go ahead and click on school, we get an error because navigation isn't defined. So let's go ahead and import navigation right here from the, we'll destructure it from the props. And let's see. There you go. You see a little tiny hello up there. It's not styled or anything yet, but there it is. So let's try going ahead and adding the plus button, and it adds a hello too. Each time you do the plus button, it keeps adding another hello. So we have the basic flat list setup working. We have a random to-do text showing. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is style this text component, add a little checkbox, and make it actually look like a to-do list. So to do that, what we're going to do first is create our own to-do item component. I'm going to go ahead here and make a new folder, call it components. And then we'll call it to-do item.js. And then we'll just copy the imports from here, paste it over here. Most of these imports we're going to be using again. We won't be using use layout effects, so we can get rid of that. But we will be using use state. We won't be using flat list, so we'll get rid of that as well. And then export default. Turn view. All right, and then we'll have some props coming in here. For now, the props we know we'll have coming here is text and is checked. We want those coming here. And then let's go ahead and import this to-do item. Import to-do item from / components / to-do item. And right here, we'll get rid of the text as the render item in the flat list. And instead, we'll put in the to-do item. And then we'll pass in text. And also is checked. All right, we'll go ahead and save that. Go back to to-do item, and let's have what we had before. So we'll make this a text item for now. And then have it output the text. Save that, and then if we go click on school now, it's still working as expected. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and modify this to-do item. First thing we'll do is add a checkbox. So we'll make sure that when you click on the actual button itself or the to-do item itself, it checks it off. So first things first, let's wrap all of this inside a view. And, oh, whoops. And let me actually go ahead and copy over some styles over here. There you go. A container, we're having a flex direction set to row. Flex direction is being set to row because we want the to-do item component to render from left to right rather than from top to bottom. We have justify content space between. Everything's going to be rendered towards the edges. All the items are going to be aligned center. And we're adding a padding of 10, and then we have another icon coming later. So we'll give this view the style.container. Perfect. And then right here, we want to have a checkbox right there. Let's do that. Comment that out. So sometimes when making new components, I like to organize it and write down what I want in the component. So we want a checkbox first, and then we want a piece of text. And then we want a delete button or a remove button. Right. And let's see, are we going to need anything else? No, I think that's about it. One thing we might need actually is we might want to put the checkbox and text together on one side and then keep the remove button separate on the other side. So we'll wrap this in another view to keep the styling intact. And again, for this view, we're going to modify the style. So we'll do flex direction. It's going to be row. And we're going to give it a flex of 1 so it expands. All right, and we'll move this text right here for now. We'll get rid of that. And let's go ahead and create a checkbox component. So in our components folder, I'm going to create another file, call it checkbox.js. And in checkbox.js, we're going to go ahead and import our usual imports. And then we'll do the usual function setup. So export default. And this is going to take in value is checked. And then we want it to do some action. So when we click the actual button, we want it to change from not being checked to being checked. So we want a function to define how that action works. So we'll have an onChecked function, and then we'll take in the rest of the props using the spread operator. So this ... props means anything passed in to the props object that's not is checked or unchecked is going to go into this props name right here. To learn more, you can look up how object destructuring and spread objects work on JavaScript. And then we want this checkbox to be a button so we can actually click on it. So we're going to use a touchable opacity. Then on press, we're going to do just passing a blank function for now. And then we'll give it a, or, let's just close it off for now. And inside we'll do text. Oops, let's make sure I put a capital T on that. Okay, and the reason I'm doing text here is I'm just going to be putting a little one of these checks in here. I'm not actually going to use an icon or anything like that. Just use that check, and then we'll have to style it. But let's go ahead and just take this and render it on the other page for now on the to-do items. So we'll go ahead and import checkbox from /checkbox, and then we'll go ahead and render the checkbox right here, and we'll give it the is checked is equal to is checked in here, and also on checked. Again, we're going to just pass in an empty function for now. We're not defining the functionality of it yet. And right here for the checkbox, let me just import a style, a little checkbox style I have right here. And then we'll give it a style of styles.checkbox. Go ahead and save that. So now if we go ahead back to the demo, click on school, you see we got a checkbox right there. Let me go ahead and get rid of the quotations in the checkbox. There, we have this little checkbox. You could click on it, but nothing happens. We wouldn't expect anything to happen yet because we didn't code any functionality yet. But let's go through the styling for this real quick. We're just giving it a width of 20, height of 20, margin 5. We're giving it a background color. And then we're giving it a color. Here, this color we should actually be importing from colors. So we'll do colors dot. Let me see what color I have it set. Where's our colors? So CCC, we'll just go ahead and make it a light gray. And we're getting a border width and a border radius. Border radius is what gives it the little tiny curve right there. And we're allowing everything to be nice and centered. So now what we want is when we click on, well, first of all, we want this checkbox to be empty. And when we click on it, we want that little check to appear. So how are we going to do that? So we're going to use the isChecked prop, which lets the checkbox know whether it's checked or not. And then right here, instead of just passing in the check mark, we're going to do isChecked question mark. This is a ternary operator. This means it's pretty much a one-line if statement. So if it is checked, we're going to render the little check. Let me go ahead and copy that. If not, we're just going to keep it empty. And that's how we want the text looking. And we'll also give this a style to match the color. And the color for this is also going to be colors. Color dot light gray. Go ahead and hit save. And then now if we open it, there's nothing in the checkbox. And then we still need to add functionality for what happens. So here we're just going to pass in or right here we're just going to do on checked. All right, we're just going to pass in on checked directly, right there. Just like that. And right here, we're going to give the on checked functionality. What on checked is going to do is it's going to update the is checked value to be the opposite of the is checked value. So if is checked is true, it's going to be setting it to false, and if checked is false, it's going to be setting it to true. Now the is checked is actually stored in ToDo List right here. We're getting it from the item right here. So we're going to have to update this whole thing right here. So how do we do that? We're going to have to pass in that functionality through the flat list to the to-do item. So we're going to do that by adding this prop on toggle or on check. And then passing this, that's what I named it, and this one too, or then unchecked. And then we'll pass in a function. And let me go ahead, tidy this up, format it, so it's easier to look at and read. It's not taking up too much space on the screen. So what do we basically want to do here? We want to find where the index of this item, of whichever item we're editing, check what is checked is, and set it to the opposite. So first we're going to get the item. So we'll do const to do item is to do items index. It's weird that that auto-corrected the items with the capital T. Let me see if I'm using the capital T anywhere. Ah, right here. That's why. So we got the item, and then we're going to do to do item dot is checked. It's going to be set equal to not is checked, because we're already getting the is checked from here, and we're just setting it to the opposite of it. And then we're just going to do, well, instead of, so right now we just have add item to list and remove item from list. We'll also go ahead and define an update item. Or actually, we're not going to be using, I don't think we'll be using update item much anywhere else, but yeah, let's just go ahead and define it. So we'll do const update item equals the index we want to update, and then the item itself, the new item we're going to have. And we'll do to do items index equals item, and we'll do set to do items. We'll just paste this over here because I don't want to type that out. We had the update item set up, and right here we'll just call that update item index, comma, to do item, which is this new to do item right here. All right, so that looks good. I'm going to save that, and in the to do item, I'm just going to get the unchecked and pass it down. Unchecked. Gonna go ahead and save that, and let's go to school. Let's click on it, and you see it has that little check now. If we click on it, if we click on it again, it goes away. So we could check and uncheck items. If we add another one, check that one too. Perfect. And let's see, why is that square still black? Let me go ahead and check the style for that. That's fine. No transparency. It should be color. Because I'm not even setting the border color here. Not bottom border color, just border color. Colors dot light gray. Cool. Next, we're going to make the actual text itself editable. So let's go back to the to-do item, and let's surround the text itself with a touchable opacity. And then format that, and then we'll give it a little on press. And it's going to be empty for now. And then what we'll do is we'll also go ahead and import a text input. component. So what we want happening right here is when we click on the text right here, we want it to change from just a plain text to a text input, so we can go ahead and actually edit that text. So first, let me import a few extra styles we could put on here. We'll get the input style and then the text style. And then we'll make it so that when we press on this touchable opacity, we got to update the state for it to be, we'll call it edit mode. So we'll do const is edit mode, set edit mode, use state, and we'll start off with edit mode being false by default. And inside this touchable opacity, we'll just set edit mode to true, because when we click on it, we just want edit mode to be set to true. And then we'll do right here, if, or what am I doing? Edit mode is edit mode question. Again, this is a ternary operator. So if it's not edit mode, we'll return the text. If it is, we'll return a text input. So let me go ahead, format that a bit cleaner right here. Okay, and then we need to add a few props to the text input. So the text input is going to take props such as value, which is going to be what the actual text is. It's going to take an onChange text, which we'll leave at with an empty function for now. And then a placeholder. So placeholder is going to be what it displays when there's no text in the text input. You know, that little grayed out text. So the placeholder is going to be add new item here. And we'll do an on submit editing. So what happens when the user submits their editing, hits the enter button or something. We'll put an empty function right there. And we'll do, we'll give it a max length of 30. Just an arbitrary number. We'll keep the to-do list short. And then we'll go ahead and pass in the style, styles.input. And actually, since we're working on a browser and demoing it on a browser, we're going to have to add one extra styling right here. This is actually an HTML style rather than a mobile style. We're just going to do outline none. So this is a web style. And then, let's see, and we'll also set autofocus to true. So when we switch to edit mode, it should instantly focus on the text. And also, if for those working on Android devices, it's going to put a random underline. So we'll get rid of the underline for now, because in the input style, we're already adding our own bottom border to act as like the input for the text. So we don't need Android adding its own. So we'll just set the Android color to transparent. And we'll also set selection color to transparent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save that. Whoa, failed to compile. What's up here? Oh, yeah, I'm not actually entering an actual value. So let's go ahead and keep the value as the text we get from the props. And also, let's go ahead and implement on change text right here. So we'll get that from the prop and pass it in here. And we'll go back to the to-do list. And then for the to-do item, we're also now going to pass in an onChange text, which is actually going to do a very similar thing to what we're doing when we're updating unchecked. So we could just copy this right here and paste it. And on change text is going to get a text variable, a text parameter from the text input. So we'll just set ToDo item.text to the new text. Actually, let me just name that new text. And then the update item can stay the same. Add a semicolon to these. Being quite inconsistent with the semicolons. So let me save that, go back to school. If we click on hello, voila, it changes into the text input for hello. And then nothing happens if I click out. So when I click out, actually, we want it to change back into just regular text. So let's do that. So we're going to use something called onBlur. OnBlur means when the text input itself loses focus. And we're going to make it so that this sets edit mode to false again. And we can actually just get rid of these squigglies over there. It's unnecessary. So let me go back to school, click on it, type, click out. It turns back into regular text. If I press enter, also turns back into regular text. Perfect. We have that working. Let me go ahead and style this text because this text looks pretty ugly right now. So right here we'll do style equals to styles dot text. And there you go. That's styled to look a bit better now. We could type in whatever we want. Also, looking at the text input itself for the touchable opacity, let me give it a style of flex 1. So you see now giving the touchable opacity the style of flex 1, it now takes up the whole space. And if we check it, also let's do one more thing. When we click on the checkbox, let's make it so the text is gray and that the text itself gets striked out. So we'll do that by, let's go down to the style. And okay, first we'll set the text color itself to colors.black. Colors.black, by the way, is different from regular black. It's a slightly less blackier black, so it's more of just a really dark gray. It's just going to make the UI look a bit more pleasing to the eyes. And then we'll go back to the to-do item. And pretty much if is checked is true, we want to add a different style to the text. So we'll make this a list over here. Do a comma. And we'll do color : is checked. Again, we're going to use the ternary operator. We're going to do colors dot light gray. If not, colors dot black. Actually, since that's there, we can just get rid of it right here. And let me clean that up. So the way I'm actually recording this right now, the demo is overlaid onto the VS Code, so I'm not exactly sure exactly how much you guys can see on the side. So I'm just going to take this extra minute to format it to make sure you can see all the code displayed on the screen properly. Okay, perfect. So let's go back, click on this, and the text grays out as well. Let me go ahead and actually make the text strike through as well. So if color is that, and then, oh yeah, it doesn't see it as a style sheet. Okay, actually right here too, we want to do the is checked, strike through. If not, we'll just pass a none. Oh, okay, my bad. It's actually not called strike through, it's called line through. Let me go ahead and save that. And then, okay, there you go, line through. Check on it, it strikes through. Oh, we don't want this text to be editable anymore. So we'll just go up to touchable opacity, and we'll say we'll only do this if it's not checked. So what this line is doing is make sure that the checkbox isn't checked before setting edit mode to true, because if it's already checked, we don't want to be able to edit a to-do item we already got rid of. So let me go ahead and save that. Click on that. Now we can't edit it anymore. But if we uncheck it, we can still edit it. Cool. And then if we add a new item, and let me actually do that. If we add a new item, we want that to be empty. So let's go back to ToDo List. Where do we, render add list icon. So we'll just keep this empty for now. Perfect. Cool. It's an empty list we can add a new item to now. Sweet. And to finish up with this to-do list, we also need one more piece of code, which is to actually delete unwanted items. So let's go back to the to-do list, or rather the to-do item. And then down here, actually, I'm going to move this whole component into its own for now, just so everything looks easier to read. So const, we'll call this editable text equals return, and then we'll move this up there just so everything looks cleaner down here. So we're just going to get rid of everything that touchable opacity, toss it down here, format it a little bit. Whoops. There you go. And the props this is going to take in are going to be is checked. We'll take in is edit mode, set edit mode. Are we using on change text? Text, of course. And I think that's it. So we'll do editable text right here. Text equals text. On change text is equal to on change text. Is checked is checked. And is edit mode. This is edit mode. Whoops. Let me format that so everything's on the screen. Am I missing anything? Is checked, is edit mode. I also need to send in set edit mode. And actually, one thing I can do is I can just take this edit mode and set edit mode and move it right up here, because we're not actually using it anywhere in here, so I don't have to waste time passing these props in there. And that looks a lot cleaner. We could get rid of this up here as well. So let's go ahead and make sure all of that is working properly. We can still go in, we could still edit text, we could still click out. The items, perfect, and it strikes through. All right, nice. All of that's still working. Now let's add just one more button to be able to remove it. So another touchable opacity on press. We'll be passing in an on delete right here. So let's go ahead and take on delete from the props. And then inside here, we're just going to put a little text. And I'm just going to put the X button right here. You know, I mean the X letter, so it looks like a nice remove button, and then we'll style it to be styles.icon. And then I'm going to set the color to colors.red. Say that, and then on the to-do list, let's actually pass in an on delete. Which is just going to be this function right here, remove item from list. So remove item from list with the index. Pass in so it knows which item to remove. So let's go ahead and check that out. We have this X button right here. If we click on it, it goes away. We can add a new one, click on it. And one more thing we want to do is when we hit the add button, we want it to automatically focus on the text input. So that we want it to pretty much automatically be in edit mode when it's created rather than being in text mode. So let's look at how we'd go ahead and do that. So one thing we could do for that is have this is new item coming in as part of the item. And whenever a new item is created, we'll just have to set the is new item to true. So we'll do that up here. Is new item. It's going to be set to true. And then right here in the to-do item, if it's a new item, we want the edit mode to be true. So we'll set the initial state of edit mode is new item. And we'll also get that passed in here. And passed in here. And we'll go back to to-do list and pass in the is new item. Okay, let's go ahead and see how that works. You add a new item. Oh, that's odd. It's not toggling edit mode. You add a new item. I wonder why that is. Let's go back to the to-do item. This new item. Oh, I see. We're not actually sending it into editable text. So let's go ahead and send that in. This new item. There you go. It's toggled when it's a new item. When we click away, it's gone. And another thing we might want to do is, actually, that works perfectly. I thought it wouldn't toggle that off when you click on the plus button, but I guess it's losing focus and it gets toggled off. So this works well. So whenever you add something new, you can edit it instantly. And then we can check these off and get rid of them. Cool. So the to-do list portion of this is done. Next, what we want to do is now we have this main screen done where we can add and remove new lists. Now we have the to-do list side of it done. So the last thing we want to do to go ahead and wrap the front end portion up for this is to go and add something to the options area so that we can actually edit the name of our lists, and we'll also add something so we can edit the color of our list. So the first thing we need to do for that is to add a new file in the screens page. So we're going to be making a new screen and we'll call it editlist.js. And then let's go to home.js and copy over the imports. Let me close a bunch of these other tabs so it's not cluttering up the screen. Paste that. We'll do export const, or rather export default. And then we'll just send back a regular view. What the hell? These snippets are so annoying sometimes. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead back to app.js and import our edit list. From screen / edit list. Okay, let me add the semicolons and let's add the edit list screen right here. So we'll just stack dot screen. Name equals, we'll just call this edit. Then component is going to be the edit list. And also in the edit list, we're going to want to pass on the same options we pass on to the to-do list. So we're still going to be passing on the params.title, except the title itself is just going to be, instead of just the title of the text, it's going to be edit. So we're going to use something called a string template right here. So this is going to be a variable, JavaScript string template. So you can make a string, and then if you want to add a variable to the string, you could just put it in this dollar squiggly braces in here. So we're going to call edit, name of the list, and then, yeah, we'll have the header style the same and the header tint color the same. So we still get that cool colored with white text look. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then we're going to go back to the home screen. Yep. And we're going to make sure we pass in the title and the color as we did. So let's go move to the options outline. This is where we want to navigate. Let's get the navigation prop here. Or let me just call this on options. Then we're going to go right here, pass in the on options. And it's going to do a similar thing to on press. Except instead of navigating to the to-do list, we're going to be navigating to the edit page. Set the equal signs right there. Save that. Okay, let me go ahead, click on options. It's not navigating. What's that? Okay, I didn't actually replace the on press over here with on options. Click on that. And there you go. We got edit school list. Edit work list. Now we're also going to use the same page for when we want to add a new list instead of it coming up with a random one. So let me make a quick change in edit list, because when you add a new list, we're not quite sure what the title is. So we'll check if we have the root.params.title already. If not, we'll just name it create new, keep it lowercase, create new list. Cool. And then we'll go back to home, and in the render add list icon right here, instead of directly adding the item, we're gonna just pass in the navigate. And instead of adding the item right here, we're gonna do navigation.navigate edit. We need to actually pass in the navigation. So let's go ahead and pass that in right here. Navigation. Cannot read property title of undefined. Where is it trying to read title? On line 33. Because root.params.title doesn't exist. So let's fix that actually right here by adding in just an empty list of options. And whoa, we're getting a crazy error. Let me take a look at this. Okay, that's why we're exceeding the maximum recurrence. So what's happening right here is, as I'm rendering the touchable opacity, or as I'm giving the on press, I'm calling the navigation function instantly. And every time that's called, it keeps refreshing and keeps re-rendering. It keeps calling this. I forgot to make this into an actual function. So let me go ahead and save that. And then another thing we need to do right here is we don't know if we'll also be getting the color. So root.params.color, or if that doesn't exist, we'll just make the color colors dot. Am I importing it? Yep. We'll just make the default color blue. Whoa, the the colors, the import is messed up. Let me go ahead and import it properly. That must have been an auto import. Okay, let me save that. Okay, I restarted the server and the issue was I was importing colors from the wrong area. Gotta be careful when copy pasting. It's just /constants because we were in the root app.js. So make sure you update that properly. And then let's try and click on add page. There we have it, create new list, and we have a random color. Cool, so let's actually work on this page, and what we're gonna do is add a text input so we can change the name of the list. And we're also gonna add this little color selector so we can set the color of the list. To start off, as always, I'm gonna paste some styles in here. So we just have the container style and we'll pass that into the view. We have the input style for the text input, and we're also going to add a save button, so add a style for that. As far as the text input goes, I'm just going to grab that bad boy. Where is it? From the to-do item. And the text input itself, we want to add a little label to the text input as well, so we're going to put that in its own view. We'll add another view right here. And in this view, we're going to do style equal to, and we'll add a flex direction of row. So again, everything's going from left to right. And we're going to add text. It's going to be list name. And we'll add the text input itself. And then here we don't have an edit mode or anything, so we can get rid of the on blur right here. We don't need to have an on submit editing. Placeholder is going to be list new list name. Styles can stay the same. We still have it called styles.input here, and we still want to set the outline to none. We want these two to be transparent as well. And the value is going to be title. And the title itself is either going to be root.params.title, or if we don't have a root.params.title, it's just going to be empty. So we'll make that part of the state. Also up here, let me clean up the imports. We can get rid of use layout effect. We also don't need flat list here. And we're not going to be using any icons. So we do const title, set title is going to be use state root.params.title. And if that's not there, which is where this or means, it's just going to be empty. And then we'll also do the same for color, actually. Color, set color. Cool, use state root.params.color. Or, okay, go ahead and save that. Let's see how that looks. Root's not defined. Oh yeah, we gotta get the root from props. So let me go ahead and get navigation and the root itself from the props. New page. And we need to import text input. Oh God, more errors. We need an actual onChange text. So instead of onChange text, it's just going to be the set title. All right, fourth. I think this is the fourth time. Fourth time's the charm. There you go. We have a list name, and let's style the title right there. So for the title style, we're just going to do style. New color is going to be colors.black. And we'll make it bold since it's going to be a title. And a font size of 16. And let me edit that so it's easy for you guys to keep track of this. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. It's name perfect. And I don't know. I don't know if I like that being directly in a row like that, to be honest. Maybe I'm going to get rid of the flex direction row right here. Let's just get rid of that styling. Let me save that and see how that looks. Yeah, honestly, I like that much better. I'm also going to add a little bottom margin right here. So margin of 8. And let's go ahead and make this its own style. So we'll call it a label. Get rid of it here. Styles.label. Then we'll move down here so everything's nice and clean. Okay, let's go ahead and see how that looks. Whatever we want over here. And then we want a way to actually submit this list name. So let's go ahead and add a save button. So the save button is just going to be a touchable opacity on press. As always, we'll leave it empty for now, fill this out later. And then let me add a text here, give it a style, and we'll make the color for this white, give it a font size of 24, and we'll make the font weight bold here too. And then the text itself is just going to be save. Let me do that so everything's styled a bit better. Okay, and let's see if I already have a style for the button. Yeah, I do. I have a style, so we'll pass that into the button. So what the save button style is doing is we're just setting a border radius of 25, so it's a nice rounded edge button. Big button, height 48, and color is going to be dark gray. All right, and if you look at the styles.container, I'm doing a justify content space between. So if I go ahead and save that and go to this add page, you notice because of the justify content space between, this stuff stays at the top and the button itself moves to the bottom. And we want to make sure everything else stays at the top, which is why we put them in their own view right here. So let's go ahead and actually add the save functionality to the save button. So first we want to do a little bit of a validation check. We want to make sure that the title is like no one's passing in an empty title. So we'll make sure that if the title.length is larger than 1, we'll accept it. In the future, once I add the backend stuff, we're going to add more validation to this and make sure the title's unique. But this will suffice for now. And we'll do root.params. This is a new function we haven't seen before, so pay attention. Root.params.save changes. And we're actually going to have to pass in the save changes to the root.params. And we'll just have to save the title and the color. And we'll do something called navigation.dispatch command actions .go back. And this acts as, if you're on Android, this kind of acts like the back button. It just takes you back to the previous screen. And let me make sure I have common actions imported. Yes, it auto imported it. Perfect. And it's imported from React navigation/native in case you don't have auto imports set up in your VS Code. Save that. And then let's add an actual save changes function. And save changes is going to be what we were doing before to what we were passing here, the add items to list function. So we're still going to pass that to the render add list icon. So we'll pass in add items to list. Items to list. And then right here in the options, we're going to pass in the save changes option. and it's going to be add item to list. Go back here, make sure everything's good, save changes, title, color. Okay, for now we'll make this colors that blue again because of the way it's implemented, and we'll go back and change that to the text later. But all right, let's click add. If we try to save right now, nothing happens because it's invalid. So let's do that. Make a new list, and boom, we have a new list called SQ, SQQ, SQ, as it is. Then if we go ahead and edit that, it's not going to work because we didn't pass in anything for save changes. So let's go back home, and on the where we tell to navigate, so on options, which we pass in right here, we're also again gonna pass in the save changes. But this time, save changes is gonna go ahead and call. Let me push this all down. Or save changes right here now is gonna call the. Oh, I guess we never added an update item from list here. So let's go ahead and add that const update item from list equals index item. And then we'll do list index. It's going to equal the new item. And we'll set list to the new list. And then right here, we're going to update the list items. And the save changes is going to be giving us a new item. And here we're going to be passing in the index and then the item. And all this needs to be within a new object. Color, save changes. No need for the extra parentheses there. And what is this error right here? Why is this bracket pink and not yellow? Or am I missing a... Oh, gotcha. I'm actually missing a parentheses right here. Add a bracket there. Okay. Now that should work. So let me go to fun right here. Rename it funny. Hit save. And now fun is saved as funny. So we can create a new list and we can edit our previous list. So some people might be confused. Let's add some good UI. Some people might be confused as to why the save button isn't working when nothing's there. So let's go ahead and show that it's invalid. So right here, we're going to do const valid. We'll do is valid, and then we'll just set validity is use state. And we're going to assume the text is valid right off the bat. But right here where we do the validation check, we'll do set validity false. So that means it'll be invalid. And then right here for the on-change text, instead of just set title, we'll be getting the text from the on-change. We're going to be setting the title to the new text. And we'll just reset the validity to true right here. And when the text itself is invalid, put this in add a new view, add a style. We'll still set the flex direction to row. And the reason we're doing this is inside of this view, if is valid, so if it's invalid, so not is valid. And then we're going to add another text, and we'll do a little star, and we'll say list name cannot be empty. Then I'll style it. We'll do color is going to be colors.red, and we'll make it a tinier font size. We'll give it a font size of like 8. Let me save that, and if we go add, hit save, list name cannot be empty. Let's make it maybe a font 12. That seems too small, and then we'll do a margin left 4, so it looks a little cleaner. Save, list name cannot be empty. Perfect. We have a tiny little bit of validation. And let me format this again. And the last thing we need to do is to go ahead and add the color selector so we can actually change the color from blue up there to whatever color we want. So let's add another quick label. I'm just going to copy this right here. And this label is going to be Color Selector. Or we'll just call it Choose Color. And then we want to have the color selector, which I'm gonna put the color selector itself in a new component. So let's go ahead and make that component called color selector.js. We'll just get in the common imports. We don't need common actions. We'll need touchable opacity. We don't need a text input. And we won't need text. But we will most definitely need colors. So we'll do export default. And we'll do the usual empty view that we're returning. And let me go ahead and copy over the style for this. And we'll set the view style to style.container. Styles.container. Oh, whoops. Added extra squigglies there. Cool, styles.container, nothing new. Just this time the entire flex direction is going to be a row. Flex 1, flex wrap is going to be wrap, and everything centered. So the reason it's going to be wrapped is the way the color selector is going to work. We're just going to have a bunch of circle color buttons for people to choose from. And once that gets towards the edge of the screen, we want it to wrap over and keep going because we have a bunch of colors for people to choose from. So we're just going to do let's go ahead and actually make the color button itself first, the button to select the color. So we'll do color button equal. And we won't take in any props yet. We'll take them in as we go. And then we want this to return a touchable opacity. Go ahead, tab that. And we'll do on press. And we're actually going to be getting the on press passed from here. Oops, that doesn't go in there. What am I doing? There you go. And then we're going to give it a style. It's called the color button style. Pass that in. Styles.color button. And the style is going to have a height of, let's say, let's make it 32. We'll do a width of also 32, so it's a nice circular button. We'll do border color, colors.light gray. And we'll do a border radius 24, so it's a full circle. We'll do margin 10. And then we're actually going to have a couple other styles passed in here, where we're going to do border width. We only want to show the gray border if the button itself is actually selected. That's how we're going to show the user that the button is selected. So we'll have it is selected prop come in here. And if it is selected, we'll give it a border width of 3. If not, we'll go ahead and give it a border width of 0. And then along with this, we're also going to add the background color of just whatever color is passed into the button. Let me go ahead and indent that. Remember, the reason I'm putting these styles here is because they actually make use of the props, and this styles over here is outside of the component, so we won't be able to make use of the props here. So we gotta attach a secondary style like this right here. And then, yeah, I think that should be good. And right here, we want to render all the colors. And instead of doing a list view, we don't really need that flat list. We don't need any scrollable features, so we can just have a list. Let's make a list called color options. It's going to be the options of colors we're going to allow. And we'll do color options dot map. So for each color option, I'm going to get the color name. And for each color option, we're going to do a color button rendering. And on press, it's going to be, so the color selector is going to have the selected color and the color options all passed into it via props. On select, so on press is going to be on select. These are supposed to be squiggly braces. And we're going to set the color itself equal to colors, which is the colors from up here, and then selected color. Or rather, I'm sorry, no, we want to make it color name, not selected color quite yet. Because we want each button's color to be unique. If it's selected color, they'd all just be the same color. And then if selected, we're going to find that out by figuring out if color name is equal to the selected color. So if the color name is equal to the selected color, is selector will be set to true, and we'll put that little ring around it to show that it's selected. And we'll just close it off so it doesn't yell at me anymore. We'll go ahead and hit save on that. Let's see. No render, nothing rendered yet because we don't, color options itself is set to empty. So let's actually go ahead and pass in a list of color options and see, and also the on select as well, and see if that works. So let's go to the edit list and import the color selector. Color selector from // components / color selector. Save that. And then let's render the actual color selector down here under this label. Oh, whoops. Right here. Color selector. And right here, we'll pass in the necessary props. So on select, we're going to get a color returned to us. And we're going to do X action with the color. We won't worry about that yet. And we'll do navigation, or rather selected color is going to equal to color. So this color right here is coming from this color we set right here from our state of the edit list, which itself is coming from the root.params. And then we're also going to do color options. It's equal to, we'll just pass an empty list for now. So on select, we're going to set color to the new color. So again, set color is coming from up here. And here we're going to do navigation.dispatch. And we're going to do another common action. This is a new common action. Before we did go back. Now the common action we're going to use is common actions.set params. So you know how we get the parameters passed from these options right here from the root, or rather from the root. We can also edit these parameters from the component itself. We don't always need it being passed from the root. So what we're going to change is the header color. And we're going to set it equal to the new color. Okay, I'm going to save that. And then for the color options, let me actually just paste that in because I don't want to type it all out. So we have the color list of blue, teal, green, olive, yellow, orange, red, pink, purple, gray. These are all defined in our colors.js we created before in the last video. So for the color options, I'm just going to pass in the color list. Save that. So let's go back to the color selector. Let's run through this, make sure everything should work properly. So we're getting the color options. For each color option, we're mapping it to the color name or to the color button by passing in the color name we're getting, which is going to be the color's color name. And then we're going to the color button right here, on press, which is just the on selected, and we have on select defined over here, where we're getting a color and we're just setting a color to that color. And the button's color should be the background color. So let's just go ahead, test it out, make sure everything's working properly. So when I create a new list, whoa, we're not seeing anything. Why is that? Ah, I see. In the map right here, I'm not returning the color button. I need to return it rather than just have it sit there in the function. So let's do that. Okay, and we're seeing a bunch of colors. And let's click on a selected color. And the color isn't actually updating. Why is that? It's because we're not actually passing in the color name itself to the onSelect. Because right here, if we look at edit list, onSelect requires a color name, and we're never passing that in. So let's pass that in right here. So basically, for each item in the color list, we're rendering the color button, and we're getting the color name. And on select, we pass in the color name. Not only are we going to pass in the color name, we're actually going to pass in colors color name. So we can keep that consistent. We're passing the actual color itself rather than just the color name. So let me save that. Go back, not there, here. Select color, and still no update. And the selection ring itself isn't working either. That might be because selected color is the color itself, whereas color name is not. So we could colors color name right there. If we save that, I think we should at least be seeing the selected color. Okay. Now we are seeing that. Let's just create the new list and see if it works there. Maybe it's just not updating the header properly. So So we'll just call this new list and set it to purple. Okay, so it is actually selecting the color and setting new list to purple. Let's try to edit the list and see if that works as well. We'll just change the color to green. Save that. Okay, that part works. So we just got to figure out why it's not actually updating the root params. So let's go back to edit list and take a look. We're doing navigation.dispatch common actions.set params. So let me try something slightly different. Let me go back to the way I was working with the options over here. Instead of header color, I'm just going to straight up pass in color. That might be what's causing this. So let's just, another short notation in JavaScript is instead of passing in something like this, where we're setting the color key to the color value, we can just go ahead and pass in the color value itself directly, and it should figure that out for itself. So let's see if that works. Okay, there you go. That was the issue. It just wasn't header color, it was color. Perfect. Now we have the edit page working as well. And we're creating a new list. Let's name it Fire List. Then we'll give it a nice orange fiery color. Hit save on that. We got Fire List. We can go in the Fire List and add new items. And actually, let me go back to ToDo List, to the ToDo List page, and get rid of that original item. We'll just start with an empty blank list. Go ahead and save that. So new list, Fire List, set to orange. Hit save. We could go in here, add an item, build an app, and then we can add another item, add backend. Cool. We did the first part, guys. This is the end of the video. We did everything we needed to do. We built an app. And next video, we're going to be adding the backend to this, and we're also going to be adding a little bit more to the front end in terms of authentication. So if you're ready to hop into all of that and a lot of Firebase, stay tuned for next week's episode. Go ahead and click that notification bell down below so you're notified when that comes out. And if this video helped you at all and you now have a working React Native app on your computer, do your boy a favor and hit that like button down below and send this video out to loads of other developers in the YouTube community. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you later.